Most people don't realize they're overthinking. They believe they're being careful. But thought doesn't equal precision. It can become latency, drag, wasted cycles. And latency isn't intelligence, it's friction. Think of it like this. You stare at an email, replay a conversation in your head, adjust your words again and again, but the message hasn't changed. The information is already there. Your thinking continues, not to solve, but to stall. The loop isn't insight, it's unresolved closure. And what drives it isn't the world, it's mistrust of your own execution. Here's the rule: once the pattern is clear, more mental motion adds nothing. Energy without direction isn't clever, it's a signal leak. The mind convinces itself it's working, while action waits on hold. Overthinking isn't extra intelligence, it's a failure to finalize. Action becomes a distant thought, rehearsal becomes reality, and clarity slips quietly away. High cognitive capacity makes this worse. The smarter you are, the more simulations your mind can run. Every outcome imagined, every possibility rehearsed. And because it feels real, the mind mistakes rehearsal for progress. But nothing has happened yet. The Stoics recognize this. Not anti-thought. Anti-friction. Once perception is sufficient, continued rumination degrades performance. A late decision is often worse than an imperfect one. As Marcus Aurelius said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Notice the estimate, not the event. Overthinking is when your estimate refuses to close. It doesn't matter what you're thinking about, the loop itself is the problem. Treat it as noise, not insight. And this is where most people lose leverage. They think they're struggling with clarity or emotion. They aren't. They're trapped in a system that never finalizes, and until the loop ends, no strategy, no insight, no tip will matter. What if overthinking isn't a mistake? What if it's a reflex? The brain running a security protocol it no longer needs. Every hesitation, every replayed conversation, every mental what if is a false alarm. Your mind treats ordinary choices like threats. Send an email? That harmless click becomes a test of survival. Speak in a meeting? Every word gets simulated, replayed, judged, before it leaves your lips. Think of it like a smoke detector stuck on high sensitivity. One spark, and the alarm screams. Every harmless situation triggers the same internal warning. And here's the key: most of these alarms aren't real. They exist only because your system doesn't trust your own execution. Watch the patterns. A simple message to a colleague takes 10 drafts. You hesitate before pressing send. You imagine the worst reactions. That tension isn't strategy. It's your mind rehearsing failure before it even happens. Most people think careful thinking is strategy. It's actually rehearsal for hesitation. Overthinking doesn't just stall action, it creates predictability. Every loop, every delay, every repeated mental check leaves a trail. Others, and even your own system, can read it. Latency becomes information, and the very reflex meant to protect you now exposes you. Here's a subtle shift: notice the alarm without obeying it automatically. See the hesitation as a signal, not a verdict. If you're drafting the same email for the third time, label it internal test, not real threat. Observe the loop, don't exit it, just watch it. That's the first step in interrupting the reflex. The Stoics recognized this structurally, not morally. They understood that the mind defaults to survival. It interprets possibility as threat. And when action becomes optional, noise becomes a measure of safety rather than leverage. The more your brain simulates, the more predictable your behavior becomes. Every overthought decision is a signal leak. And until you notice it, your reflex will keep running you. Not the other way around. This is where your mind thinks it's winning. It isn't. It's just surviving in slow motion. Most people never notice how much of their energy is trapped in negotiation with themselves. Every choice is argued, every consequence replayed. The mind assumes that deliberation equals precision. But precision is not produced by debate. It is produced by decision. The Stoic cut is not force. It is not discipline. It is a boundary. Here thought ends. Beyond it, deliberation has no authority. The mind may whisper, but the system moves regardless. Execution happens independently. Imagine standing at the edge of a river. Currents pull in every direction. You have measured, imagined, hesitated. Step forward, and the water moves around you. That step is the cut. Momentum shifts. The current no longer dictates your path. Now imagine hesitating again. The current pulls sideways. Momentum is lost. Energy leaks. Noise returns. That is the cost of ignoring the cut. The difference is structural, not motivational. One action changes the system irreversibly. The other keeps you in endless friction. You can feel it. Grip and release. Breath you didn't know you were holding loosens. The tension inside your chest drops. Attention sharpens, not because you focus harder, but because resistance has ended. The mind is still active, but it no longer controls the trajectory. Try this now. Identify a decision you've replayed 3 times already. Label it silently. Enough. Commit. Visualize stepping into the river. Notice how even that small signal shifts your internal system. That is the Stoic cut in miniature. Structural, irreversible, immediate in effect, even if subtle. Most people mistake deliberation for strategy. They assume longer thought equals better insight. In reality, every additional loop is drag. Every replay is friction. The cut reverses this. It transforms thought into servant, not master. You don't feel the full effect immediately. You feel the afterspace, the quiet momentum that continues without internal debate. That is the power. The cut is not persuasion. It is an architecture. It is the moment where hesitation ends, and action becomes inevitable. Notice how the system shifts when applied. Noise persists, but leverage no longer leaks. Debate is irrelevant. Momentum is yours. And that is where quiet authority begins, not in thinking more, but in knowing where thinking must stop. There is a state where thought disappears, not because you suppress it, but because it has nothing to grasp. The mind stops negotiating because the system itself has shifted. This is the void. Not calm. Not emptiness. But absence as leverage. Space as structure. Imagine a room where all chairs are gone. You stand unanchored, yet stable. Every movement carries itself. Nothing bumps, nothing delays. Momentum flows without friction. Now picture a hall of mirrors. Reflections multiply endlessly, each one signaling danger, each one distorting reality. Then the mirrors vanish. Only the path forward remains. You move freely. You move inevitably. Absence becomes an engine, a structural advantage you inhabit rather than impose. Most people fear silence, stillness, absence. In this space, that fear signals leverage. The mind searches for patterns. When none exist, it offers commentary, projections, hypothetical outcomes. In the void, these signals float past, inconsequential. They brush the edges of awareness, but do not govern the system. Energy flows, decisions manifest, momentum continues. Notice a hesitation rising during a meeting, or while making a difficult call. Instead of reacting, pause. Let the reflex run alongside you, not through you. Tension lingers, but it no longer redirects action. Because of the void, others reveal themselves. Decisions flow around you effortlessly, unnoticed. Action becomes inevitable. Picture standing at the edge of a river. Debris floats past. Currents churn. In the void, you are not pulled sideways. You step, and the water moves around you. Neither rushing nor resisting, momentum carries itself. The system has shifted irreversibly. The void is not stillness for its own sake. It is functional absence. Presence emerges naturally because nothing inside you can obstruct it. You do not impose control. You inhabit it. Internal reflexes may comment. Noise persists. But leverage has shifted. The path forward exists because you no longer give friction authority. Most systems fail because they react to noise. The void does not. You do not feel the void while inhabiting it. You feel it in the space it creates, in the effortless movement, in the clarity after hesitation. Thought persists at the edges, but it no longer dictates outcomes. Momentum is yours, structural and irreversible. And that is where quiet authority begins, not in reaction, not in calculation, but in functional absence. Once the void is inhabited, the world begins to reveal itself in ways you never noticed. Patterns emerge, not because you are searching, but because your absence creates contrast. Where most people are reactive, you are a structure within which movement occurs. Opportunities appear where friction has been removed. Every micro delay, every repeated question, every guarded phrase is information. Not judgment, not warning. Signals you can read, map, and act upon. Your observation converts presence into leverage. Imagine a chessboard where one side has been removed. The remaining pieces are exposed. Moves become predictable. You do not act on every piece. You wait, you watch. You position yourself where imbalance exists. That is asymmetry. That is power extracted without effort. In a team call, silence fills the space. Others rush to speak, to assert, to fill gaps. You do not. You notice hesitation in their questions, priorities in the order they speak, uncertainty in the pauses. That is your map. You intervene only where the gap exists. Momentum shifts around you effortlessly. Picture a pendulum swinging. Each oscillation is predictable, yet you do not touch it. When timing is precise, a single push changes the trajectory irreversibly. Minimal effort. Maximum effect. That is the principle of leverage. Observation, patience, and absence combine to amplify impact. Notice the vectors where influence can be applied. The smallest signal, a glance, a word, a delay, becomes meaningful because the system is quiet where others assume noise dominates. You do not push. You act at the exact point where imbalance exists, not where it is imagined. The system begins to bend, not because you dominate, not because you act faster, but because you have positioned yourself in the void, created by non-interference. Others continue in their loops, but your trajectory is unblocked. The subtle power of asymmetry is now visible. The environment, the conversation, the flow of decisions, all yield to the structure you inhabit. Absence has become leverage. Observation has become action. Patience has become inevitability. And in the end, it is simple. The world moves around you, not you around the world. By now, thought no longer debates. Observation no longer waits. Absence has become leverage. The system bends, not because you impose force, but because you exist as an architecture others must navigate. Presence is irreversible. Imagine a tide that has already turned. You did not push it. You did not order it. You did not negotiate with its flow. Yet every wave moves according to the space you have cleared. The environment now acts around you, and your influence is embedded in the system. Notice how people behave when you stop filling gaps with noise. Hesitation shows itself in micro-movements. Priorities leak in pauses and glances. Every attempt to sway or dominate reveals opportunity. You do not respond to each signal. You act only where leverage is structurally present. In a client call, the room fills with suggestions, arguments, and rushed opinions. You do not interrupt. You observe. Hesitations, redundancies, unspoken priorities, they map themselves. When you act, it is precisely where the system exposes the gap. Your impact is amplified because you waited. Picture a pendulum that has been nudged just once, perfectly timed. Its swing is irreversible. It cannot return to its prior motion. So too with your presence. Once your system has aligned with the void and extracted asymmetry, the effect is embedded. Others may loop, pause, second guess, but the outcome you set in motion cannot be undone. The body follows the mind. A subtle posture, a measured pause, a steady gaze, these are not tricks. They declare boundaries, create structure, and invite compliance because the system recognizes the architecture, not you personally. That recognition is authority, quiet, and unarguable. Decisions occur where they must occur. You do not act faster. You move in alignment with the structural currents you have created. Noise continues, but it no longer alters outcomes. Momentum is irreversible. This state is not about dominance, persuasion, or charisma. It is the culmination of every cut, every void, every asymmetry leveraged. Observation becomes action. Patience becomes inevitability. The world moves around you, not you around the world. You have moved beyond reaction, beyond persuasion. You have become the architecture through which the system moves. There is no next move. The debates inside your mind have ended. The system has aligned. Noise continues, but it no longer matters. What you have cultivated, the cuts, the void, the asymmetry is now embedded. Presence is no longer optional, it is structural. The world flows around you. Decisions, hesitation, uncertainty, they exist, but they pass through a system you no longer inhabit. Influence is no longer exerted, it is realized. And in that realization, the dynamic is complete. There is nothing left to do, nothing to prove. You simply exist as the architecture through which the system moves.